the NLT Illustrated Study Bible, Part 2. Welcome to Bible on the Go with Dr. Dan. This Bible is so vast and has so much in it that we've done this overview for this month in 2 sections, and this is Part 2. We're in the middle of this Bible, and for the prophets, the best kept secret in the Old Testament about understanding the prophets is that you really have to know what time they prophesied in. For example, like I like to tell my students, is this prophet a prophet before the exile? Is it during the exile? Or is it after the exile? Because that has a direct bearing on the message that they give. And once you know that, and you start reading that prophet, it makes so much more sense. And so there's a section in the front of each prophet, in the introductory section, where they have a timeline of that prophet's life, as well as what was going on in the kingdom of either Israel or Judah, and the neighboring nation, the aggressor nation, like Assyria or Babylon. For example, this is the introduction to Habakkuk, and there's this full double timeline, and this double timeline idea is throughout this Bible, because they don't just want you to see the timeline of the book, but the book in its timeline context. And that just makes it so much more meaningful and good. And as I turned the pages of this Bible, I just kept being surprised at all that's in here. Now, it is heavy, and thick as a boat anchor. I mean, it's really, really thick. So if you want to carry it around, you're going to have a big bag or briefcase to do so. But the reason it's thick is because it has so much in it. So let's look at another thing that I hope it might surprise you as well as it surprised me. Some study Bibles don't say anything about the intertestamental period between Malachi and Matthew. Others give maybe a page or a couple of pages to talking through the big events of it. But look what this NLT Study Bible does. It has a full 2-page article, and look at this timeline that crosses the full pages, and it's doing that same thing again with shading, giving you the Macedonian kingdom, the Persian kingdom, Judea, Israel, Samaria, all that's going on around it. It's just amazing and grand. And you can spend an hour reading this and learning so much more, like on the same quality as you would get in a New Testament biblical backgrounds class, a Greco-Roman world, for example. But it's I just had to mention it because this is over the top. Now, when you get to, just like I was talking about in the Old Testament, there's this vast introduction to the major first section of the Bible. Well, they do the same thing with the New Testament. For example, this is on page 2 of the introduction to the New Testament. Look at this. 3 beautiful full color maps to illustrate what happened in that New Testament history and had a bearing on what Paul called the fullness of time when God sent his son into the world. So it's just, you've got to see it because there's so much here. Let's see another thing here. And again, there are things in here that I'm not showing you because there's just not enough time to show you everything. But when I saw something that was it kind of took me by surprise, oh my goodness, look at this. A whole page, color, showing you in 3D what a first century home looked like. That is gloriously fantastic. It takes you into that world, into the world of the New Testament where Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Peter, Euodia and Syntyche, Priscilla and Aquila lived. And it helps you to contextualize. It really, really does. Now, when you get to the end of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, there is this section. And again, not every study Bible has this, but there is this 5-page harmony of the Gospels after you've read them, right? To see what shows up. And it's detailed, right? With Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then the references and all the events. And here's the thing, it's a thorough harmony of the Gospels because it has 215 events listed in this harmony. Right here in the NLT Illustrated Study Bible, I couldn't believe it as I kept turning the pages. There's so much detail. And if you love history, you love thinking, and if you really appreciate the fact that it's contextualizing everything for you, this is the Bible you've got to get. Now, what's fascinating to me about this, because after I looked at it, I was like, okay, I've got to get this digitally. And it is available digitally with Olive Tree right now, but it's not available in either Accordance or Logos digitally. So I'm just holding my breath for when they do make it, when it is, because when it gets digitized, it's even going to be, take it completely over the top. But let's look at another thing, because there's a lot here. There's just so much here. Now, there's full page spreads of articles with tables and maps, and of course those timelines. For example, look at this one about Abraham. Father Abraham had many sons. I'm one of them, and so are you. So let's look at the NLT Illustrated Study Bible and praise the Lord for this amazing detail in this. And then just as you're reading the article, it's giving you a detailed map. Look at the genealogy chart and then this beautiful timeline with pictures. This is not the only time they do it, but this is a tremendous example of all the extra stuff in this Bible. And then when you get to the Psalms introduction, wait for this. Look at this graphic of all the different kinds of Psalms. Wow. We make this point when we teach about Psalms at the college level, but when you see it in a picture, you're like, look at that. There's Psalms of thanksgiving, there's Psalms of trust, Psalms of wisdom, Psalms that are messianic, and they're all labeled and numbered just so you know how to find them. And so I just can't get over the graphical power that's going on in this Bible. Now, when you get to the end, and before I say that, the things that I've showed you about the individual books is true about every one of the 66 books. For example, in Genesis, Exodus, and Joshua and Judges, there's a lot of timeline, geography things, because that has to do with the setting of that book that was so far away. But then when you get to the individual books, you're going to get an outline, you're going to get a summary, you're going to get a map if it can show you anything about the context. And like I was saying about the prophets, wow, this Bible gives you more information about the prophets than absolutely any study Bible that I've ever seen. And that's, it's quite a statement. So you might just want to put this on your Christmas list. Okay, so here's the thing. The book of Revelation is intimidating to a lot of people because of the imagery and the many different views on Revelation and things like that. For example, in another video, the ESV Study Bible, I make a point about how in 2008, they really charted a whole new course for study Bibles with the things that they did. And one of the things in that ESV Study Bible was all pictures of all the different timelines of the different views. Now that's valuable, and I don't diminish that at all. But in this one, here I am in the book of Revelation, and at the bottom is this full-on timeline of all that was going on during the time period of Revelation and the writing of the books of the New Testament, so that you know when Mark was written, when Acts was written, and what Augustus was doing, what the Romans were doing, all those kinds of things. That's really helpful to contextualize the setting in which John saw this vision. And I just had to show it to you. Okay, now, you would think that when you get to the Bible, to the end of the Bible, okay, that you've got like, okay, I'm going to have an index. And this has some great indexes we're going to talk about. But look at this thing. It's another one of these two-layered charts, and it's called After the Apostles. And it's a timeline. And I love this. Like I did not expect this to be in this Bible, of the church, right? And how it exploded after the close of the New Testament, and also the timeline above it, Rome, and what was going on in Rome. This is a wonderful baptism into church history, just looking at this 2-page timeline called After the Apostles. I just can't say enough good things about it. Now, let's look at another thing. There are so many features in this Bible that they have an index that has colors in it. And it's a features index. It's basically giving it to you in alphabetical order, all the maps, all the timelines, all the charts, right? And this is something you would want to keep bookmarked because, you can't get lost in this Bible because there's so much here. All right, let's look at this other index. So we have an index of notes. You know how we were mentioning that the notes have to try to get right at the meaning, right, of the text. And you might find that really valuable. You might have underlined something in the notes in addition to just the Bible text, right? And of course, it's the Great New Living Translation, right, which is clear as a bell, and that's why it's so nice. But you can come to the notes and you can look it up. Now, here's the thing. Concordances are fabulous, and electronic concordances are even better. But this is a dictionary and concordance. So it defines the term and then tells you all the places that it is. And I had to just bookmark it to show you. And then there are maps in this Bible that are high quality. And I had to just show you this one in particular. Look at this map of Palestine. It's amazing. It's amazing detail. And the NLT Illustrated Study Bible. And look, here's an index to the maps. Wonderful, right? So, thanks for watching. Bible on the Go, Dr. Dan. If you like these videos, the best and most important thing, helpful thing you can do is hit that red button called subscribe. You only have to do it once, and it's absolutely free.